In today's devotion, we will begin to look at the many faces that pride can take in our lives.
Not only is pride a common feature of the human heart, every one of us has a unique and vibrant self-life. We may break pride down into some basic categories. A haughty spirit. When we hear the word haughty mentioned, an image of a wealthy, snobbish person may immediately come to our minds. However, an individual does not need to be rich in order to be haughty. The Bible uses the term to describe any attitude of being better than others. The haughty person elevates themselves above all others. He or she considers themselves superior to everyone else, and he or she is usually contemptuous of those whom they consider to be beneath them. Persons with a haughty spirit find some quality in themselves that they think is commendable, and they then use that quality to compare themselves favorably with others. They exalt themselves by comparing their strengths with the weaknesses of others. Because they tend to believe the best about themselves, they often overlook the qualities in their lives which are obnoxious to God and others. They may be completely indifferent to the opinion others have of them because their insane arrogance leaves no room for doubt. Their self-love is so great that they do not require the endorsement of anyone. The truth is that pride is often the mask of our own faults. To the Christian infected with a haughty spirit, the word of the Lord says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourselves. Don't look out only for your own interests, but take an interest in others too. Philippians 2:3-4, New Living Translation. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people. And don't think you know it all. Romans 12:16, New Living Translation. Vanity. Vanity may be defined as excessive pride in one's own appearance or achievements. In contrast to the person who has a haughty spirit, the vain person lives and craves for the admiration of others. The vain person has an overwhelming desire to be recognized and applauded. He or she constantly feels pressured to appear, speak, and act in a manner that they think will be acceptable to those they are trying to impress. Their self-esteem and contentment depends largely upon the approval rating of others. The sad truth is that vanity lies at the foundation of much of the preaching that is so prevalent today. Preachers and teachers who are controlled by vanity desire to please men more than God. The approval of people means more to them than faithfully discharging their God-given responsibilities. Vanity is one of the great diseases that plague women. In our culture, a woman's beauty often determines her value. The pressure to be beautiful and sexy can be very powerful, particularly for those who crave attention. What is the primary motivating factor behind the bleaching phenomenon that drives black people to go to extremes to lighten their skin color? The answer is vanity. It is no coincidence that the table used by women to apply makeup is called a vanity. Unfortunately, the men and women in the church are not exempt. They sometimes fall prey to the spirit of vanity. Self-protection. The individual with self-protective pride has a very difficult time being vulnerable to others. He or she tends to be extremely defensive and easily offended. This person has fortified themselves behind an elaborate system of walls in an attempt to keep themselves from being at risk. The person with self-protective pride is generally sensitive by nature, and therefore even the slightest offense will result in them running for cover behind their fortified walls. The more this happens, the more the walls of their personal fortress strengthen and become more impenetrable to anyone perceived as an intruder. Whereas some categories of pride are offensive, self-protecting pride is defensive by nature. A person with self-protective pride guards themselves carefully from any situation that has the potential to make them appear in a negative light. The most frightening prospect for the person with self-protective pride is to look bad in front of others. They are cautious about displaying their true inner feelings and may be very insecure and fearful whenever persons attempt to get close to them. They often use sarcasm to keep others at bay. There is nothing necessarily wrong with being cautious, sensitive, and introverted. These characteristics may simply be a part of a person's personality. The problem arises when we focus exclusively on our feelings and neglect the needs and feelings of other people in our lives.
As you reflect today, consider if any of these descriptors rightly diagnose the condition of your heart. Is there any sign of pride resident there? Until next time, think on these things.